Warhammer 3 is finally here, and with it comes a huge number of features and changes that aim to make this the best Total War Warhammer game yet. The game introduces everything from lots of quality of life improvements to huge game-changing features, which in my opinion do make this one of the best Total War games ever released. My name is Dio, and in this video I will try to cover all the new features and changes made in Warhammer 3. The video will be split into two sections. In the first, we'll focus on the campaign map side of things, and then we'll look into changes to battles. There are a ton of new features, so hopefully I haven't missed anything, but if I did, please let me know in the comments below, and I will keep a pinned comment with your suggestions. But anyway, let's get to it. One of the first new features is the prologue campaign, which I strongly recommend everyone plays. It's quite long, but it introduces new players to the game, not only teaching you the basics of how to play, but it also sets up the story for the game's main campaign. Besides the prologue, you also have an option of 3 campaigns to play, but 2 of these are multiplayer campaigns, so you need at least one other person to play with. The Realm of Chaos is the game's main campaign, with Darkness and Disharmony being more head-to-head oriented for up to 8 players, and Something Rotten in Kislev is a short co-op campaign you can play with up to 3 people. Let's move on to the campaign map and UI changes you can find there. The first change is that unit rank chevrons now tell you exactly what stats the unit has gained by ranking up, which can be seen by hovering your mouse over the chevrons on the unit card or the info card. You can now see what your allies are up to. For example, when you click on an ally's army, you can see the army's destination linked to them by a blue line. Spell descriptions now include the actual damage values they inflict, rather than saying causes moderate or major damage, which tells you very little. Some skills have also been changed in Warhammer 3. There are probably too many to cover here, but some examples are Root Marcher now only given 5%, and Lightning Strike requiring 3 skill points to enable Lightning Strike battles. Your armies also start the battle with Fatigue if you choose to enable Lightning Strike. And Arcane Conduit is now a passive ability. The Ogre skill tree as seen here actually has a different ability for Arcane Conduit, which is still an active skill that works similarly to Warhammer 2. If you really don't want to pay attention to skill points, you can tick this box here and the game will automatically assign your skill points for you. You can also do this with settlements, where your provinces get built up automatically. You can set a budget on how much you want to spend each turn on building up your provinces in the treasury. Missions used to be very easily forgotten about, but now they have a nice icon showing you the locations of these missions so you know exactly where to go. You also have this little hovering icon on the edge of the screen, which when clicked on will quickly zoom you back to your faction's capital settlement. One of the best quality of life changes for me is this button right here. You can now issue a warning to trespassing army to leave your lands. If they fail to do so in 2 turns, you can freely declare war on them with no diplomatic penalties. Speaking of diplomacy, Warhammer 3 has taken some nice things from 3 Kingdoms and added the quick deal button. You can now quickly cycle through the different diplomatic options and see who is actually interested in dealing with you. It shows you how close you are to actually getting a treaty, and also has a balance offer button, which will automatically add money in to make the deal happen. If the deal is already in your favor, you can use the balance offer to get some extra money from the AI instead. Another great addition is the ability to trade settlements. Bear in mind that you must share a border with a specific settlement and target faction in order to trade it. Outposts and allegiances are a nice way to create more interaction with both player and AI allies. Here you can see your current allegiance points, set war coordination targets, and build outposts in your allies' province capitals. At tier 1, outposts can only recruit units from that faction's local recruitment. You'll need to be military allies and build outposts to tier 2 and 3 to gain access to your allies' global recruitment pool. Bear in mind, you can only have 4 outpost units in each of your armies. You can also accept missions from your allies that will grant allegiance points upon completion, which are required to recruit your allies' units and to request to borrow an army from your ally in case of emergencies. Last thing to add is that a defensive ally's territory is now also fully visible on the map, so you'll be able to expand your field of vision. If multiplayer battles are your thing, then you can save a campaign character and use them in your multiplayer battles. I believe this is a purely visual feature, so you won't get any benefits besides choosing the look of your lords and heroes. You can fuse and salvage unwanted items directly from your inventory. Simply select the item and salvage it for money. The amount of gold gained depends on the rarity of the item. Alternatively, if you select 2 items of the same category and rarity, you can fuse them to create an item of higher rarity. Ancillaries cannot be fused, but can be salvaged for gold. Besides adding new stances for various factions, the encamp stance now has been changed so that you can move while being encamped. This does reduce your campaign movement range speed by 50%, but allows you to replenish on the go. When besieging a settlement, the defenders will start taking attritional damage right away, rather than having supplies to rely on for a few turns. This means that you can reduce the defending force quite considerably in just a few turns. Experience has been reworked so you can see exactly how much experience you've gained on a character. The more kills you get in a battle, the more experience your characters earn. This is linked to all kills in the battle and not just kills made by those characters. Now you can easily get multiple levels in a single battle. This does however mean that sack cities are no longer as viable as before. 4 new types of corruptions have been added to the game, each one linked to one of the 4 Chaos Gods. They all provide different penalties to local armies and settlements, and buffs to demon armies linked to that specific corruption. Corruption is no longer percentage based, and the dominant corruption or untainted will eventually fully take over a province. The only exception to this seems to be the reworked Chaos Corruption, now called Chaos Undivided Corruption, which seems to be able to share with other types of Chaos Corruptions. Winds of Magic have also been reworked. Now instead of winds suddenly increasing or decreasing by a flat amount based on a region, they now steadily go up and down each turn. This can be influenced by a number of things such as skills on your lords and heroes and army stances. Winds of Magic reserves are now capped at a maximum of 100. If your reserves are low on any demon faction, your army will receive replenishment, leadership, and physical resistance debuffs. If they're high, you'll get different buffs depending on which faction you're playing. All benefits are listed on screen now. That about covers the campaign map, so let's move on to changes made to battles. Possibly the most disliked feature of the previous titles were the terrible sieges and settlement battles. Thankfully, Warhammer 3 completely reworks how both of these work, and minor settlement battles actually take place in settlements. A quick note about the battle maps is that local corruption can now be seen affecting the map. It's purely visual, but it's still a very cool feature to add. Both settlement and siege maps now have multiple capture points you can take control of. The defender automatically owns these without having to put units there. Each capture point is linked to several defense points, such as towers and barricades. Supplies are accumulated by the defender for holding these key positions. The less you hold as a defender, the less supplies you will receive per second. You can then spend these supplies by clicking on the hammer icon above a defense point and choose what you'd like to build. Barricades can build things such as walls or platforms for your archers to delay the enemy army, or they can provide buildings that either buff or debuff nearby units. Towers, on the other hand, are all offensive and generally provide different kinds of projectiles such as cannons or fire rockets, or simply increase the amount of damage and number of projectiles they fire. One thing to note that once the battle has started, building a barricade or tower takes time, so take that into consideration when planning your defense. Combining towers and barricades is extremely powerful and gives the defender a huge advantage, generally allowing a small garrison to take on much larger armies. Bear in mind that both towers and barricades can be destroyed by the enemy's units. Flying units can finally land and fly at your command. You can fly behind the enemy, land, and then charge them from the back. Bear in mind there is a short cooldown period between these actions, and the unit must be out of combat before you can take to the skies again. Idle indicators have been added to unit cards, so it's much easier to see which units are currently not doing anything. You can cycle through all idle units using the / key, and you can select all idle units using Control and / by default. Unit bracing indicators have also been added, so you can always see if your unit is bracing and ready to take on the enemy charge. This is especially important as many dedicated anti-large units now have Charge Reflect, which only works if your unit is braced. Health bars have now been improved to better show how much damage a unit has taken, and for a brief period of time will show you how much HP the unit had before taking damage. Any unit that takes a large amount of damage in a short space of time will be highlighted to the player. Single entity monsters will now enter a wounded state once their HP gets below 25% in an attempt to make them a bit less overpowered to the previous titles. If you heal the unit back above 25%, the wounded state will be removed. Speaking of healing, healing has changed from a flat amount to percentage-based healing, meaning healing units with larger health pools is now a lot more effective than ever before. Magic resistance has been changed to spell resistance, so it no longer protects from magical attacks. It now only protects against actual spells and abilities. This is due to most demonic factions having magical attacks, so it had been tweaked to balance the game a little better. Unit size balancing has finally been introduced, meaning playing on smaller or larger unit scales is a lot more balanced than before. Meaning things such as towers will do less damage on smaller unit scales, but single entity monsters will also have a lot less HP and damage, so they will not be nearly as overpowered as they used to be on smaller unit scales. This one is a little subtle, but what it means is that the army formation you set up in the deployment phase will actually be saved when you hit the start battle button. Next time you battle with the same army, the formation will be set up in the exact same way. Slow motion when casting spells can be enabled or disabled in the game's settings. This is a fantastic little feature that helps you aim your spells a little more effectively. This works with all spells including damage, healing, support and debuff spells, so you can always take your time when casting. Reinforcements no longer join the battle instantly. Instead, they have a timer before they actually arrive. You can also choose from which direction your reinforcements join the battle by dragging the reinforcement icon around the map. The further you are from the original point, the longer it will take for your reinforcements to join. And last on the list are ambush battles and the ability for the ambushed army to escape. All they need to do is reach this point here before they can rout off the battlefield. They still need to reach the edge of the map though, so you still have a chance to take out any routing units. And that's it, a hopefully full list of new features and changes in Total War Warhammer 3. If you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button and let me know in the comments below what your favorite features are. If you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications for more Warhammer 3 content. I have a ton of Warhammer 3 content in the works, so stay tuned. See you next time. Toodles.